It is exactly 13 after 9 o'clock. Welcome back to the second hour of news and views on Salam Media. And of course, a big welcome to our Polokwane listeners on One Nation FM. Still to come on the show, we will be talking with Patrick Deal. He's a labor lawyer and mediator. We're going to be looking at navigating the world of employment in 2024 and also the unpacking of the latest labor law changes. Zahira Bam Ismail, an influential philanthropist, is going to talk to us about the safe haven for women in Johannesburg. But first up, we are going to be talking to someone from Defend Our Democracy, the communications officer, and that is you, Mr. Sibanyoni. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thanks for having us. And morning
Tell
to
me,
your listeners.
lovely to have you here. What is your first name, please?
My first name is Andries.
Andries. Okay, great. Nice to have you on the show this morning. Now, you are from Defend Our Democracy, and there seems to be a huge concern regarding active participation of the youth in our electrical processing or our electoral processing. We know for a long time this has been a problem, that it almost seemed as if the youth are not interested in politics or casting their votes. What is the situation currently with our general elections literally around the corner?
Yeah, one of the major concerns, I think, by all political parties is that the current situation in the country has made our young people numb towards political activism, meaning the youth of this country this is the only government that they know, most of them. So the unfortunate part is that it has been too much negativity around the government or governance, be it corruption, water crisis in the city of Johannesburg and Gauteng as a whole, load shedding, and something that affects them directly, like the high unemployment rate and the lack of access to higher education due to some allegations of mismanagement and corruption by NSFAS. So our own observation says this has affected youth so much, and it's discouraging them to participate. But we're seeing as well some growth, very minimal youth interest following certain political parties, which I would not mention. So, but the situation is still dire. Most of the young people are not interested.
I'm thinking we just had a weekend of registration this past weekend, and we urged everybody to check whether they are on the voters' roll and they are eligible to vote. What has the turnout been like? And was this weekend really a push to get young people to register to vote?
Yeah, I think the IEC and both political parties have played their part by spreading the message to say people need to go and register to vote. Even those who have maybe moved from one location to the other, they must register at the current location, because you only vote where you registered. The numbers were not so impressive. About 300,000 people for a weekend to register. I wouldn't say that it's a success, but comparing it with last year's voter registration weekend, at least we have managed to reach almost 2 million, because last time it was 1.7, and this time it's about 300,000. So there's nothing much, because as comparably, before the weekend, we had about 15 million eligible South African voters who were not registered. So we did not even reach 3 million or 5 million of new people who have just registered. So this shows that we've got a long way to go. But I'm just hoping that people will register online, because that option is going to be open until there's an official announcement to say we have also closed the online registration.
I'm wondering about, apart from registering online, do you think there might still be a further opportunity just before we go to the polls, that the IEC will once again urge people to go out to register to vote?
Yeah, it will depend. It will depend when is the president going to announce the date of the election.
Mm.
If the elections are going to be around May as anticipated, we could find ourselves in a very tight spot, meaning the IEC has to call for another registration weekend before or mid-April, which is going to make them work under pressure, because as they are running these registration processes, they are also, on the other hand, preparing for the actual election date.
So, Andries, what does this low turnout then bode for the results of the general elections? Because clearly, if people haven't gone to register to vote, they're not going to be able to cast their vote. What do you think the picture is going to look like?
Yeah, it's going to be a very intense elections, because the lower or the average turnout for these elections means that it is highly possible that the ruling party might go back, because it is usually base, and I guess even the smaller parties might not have a bigger impact. It will just be the ruling party and the other bigger oppositions who will have more to gain from the low turnouts.
Clearly, if young people go to the polls in their droves, let's assume they all decided they're going to register online to vote, and then they go out on voting day or voting weekend, whatever it's going to be, go out in their numbers, in their big numbers, it definitely is going to swing. It's going to turn the tide regarding politics in South Africa and who the next ruling party will be. And I'm kind of wondering, do young people don't realize the power that they have?
You are so correct. You are so right. It is up to, with our DOD, we've got an arm called Election Watch, which is focusing on voter education and election observation. We think nothing much has been done in teaching our people about the importance of voting, even if it's one vote, how crucial that one vote might do to the outcome of the elections. Let me say, for instance, if we have been following elections, Lesotho, now there was just a new guy who launched a party within 7 months, and the guy appeal to the young people, because young people, even older people in Lesotho, were tired of the status quo. Somebody launched, a business person launched a party and won the election. Just like in Zambia, it happened that when the young people went out in their numbers, there were some changes in the status quo. Therefore, I think the same thing might happen in South Africa if one of the political parties will appeal to young people. If young people go out in their numbers, and they should know, people should know that they've got the hiring and firing power in their own hands. Actually, that's what voting means. That you can fire what you're not happy and who you are not happy with, and try someone else that you think potential on delivering on your aspiration, especially as young people. Like I've said when we started, young people have got serious challenges. The high unemployment rate and the lack of access to education opportunities and growth, those are key for young people. But I don't think young people are also open up to follow the manifestos of the various political parties and see who appeals more to them, so that they can, if they want to, vote for anyone. So I'm trying to say young people have got right to hire, young people have got right to fire. That's what voting does to it gives us that opportunity to hire and fire whoever we don't.
It will be very interesting to compare the different manifestos of the different newer parties. That will give you an indication of what their focus is on. I'm thinking that if their messages are strong enough in their manifestos, they could then attract the young vote. But for now, and in the recent past, it seemed that the EFF was attracting the young vote. Do you think that could change at all? Because remember, they talk about land restitution and all of those. They seem to be talking directly at the young people.
Yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to talk about political parties per se, because we defend our democracy. It's a civil society that is non-political partisan. So for me to mention political parties in this space, it's going to be a little bit uncalled for. But I hear what you're saying. But remember, this is not the first time the concerned party that you just spoke about. It's not for the first time that they've contested elections. But I think they're struggling as well to make serious inroads in the youth, because I don't think young people also understand some of these promises or yes, in the manifesto, some of these key issues that they are mentioning in their manifesto. Hence, even themselves, they're still struggling to get more young people to vote for them.
What do you believe needs to be done to educate young people regarding the importance of them to cast their votes? Because if young people do go out en masse, they can truly change the trajectory of what what the South African political landscape will look like post the elections.
Yeah, that's a $1 million question. I think young people need a lot of voter education. People need to know the importance of voting. But at the moment, we have seen almost all the political parties trying to venture into the social media space, where the majority of young people are consuming the content from. We have seen political parties going for the influencers route, but they're still struggling to get young people behind them. So South African young people, I think, are more dynamic, are more complex. For us to have something that would hook them, or something that will be of interest to them, I really don't know what will it take for us to reach that level where we are saying 50% or 60% of young people are interested in voting. But we should not get tired of having this kind of discussions, of having the voter education, telling people about the significance of voting, because it's a democratic right to vote. I guess we know where we come from before 1994. So I think one of the concerns is that people might be taking the voting right for granted, if I may put it that way, because they don't have an experience of being excluded, of being disenfranchised by the previous regime. Therefore, I guess we just need more voter education, and hopefully there will be a good. So hopefully there will be a good response to those messages. But up to so far, according to our observations, we don't see anyone tapping into that market of young people significantly.
Yeah, and in closing, all I can say is that as one of the parties, you know who I'm alluding to here, seem to garner votes through food parcels, food hampers, and T-shirts, that ain't going to cut it with young people. Am I right?
No, that's not appealing to young people. Young people are looking for jobs.
Right.
If the young people are looking for jobs, young people want to empower themselves. Young people want some
Jobs
economic
and tertiary,
opportunities.
jobs and education. That's what young people want.
Young people need education. I was coming to that. Young
Yep.
people need education. So,
Yeah.
so food parcels will work in a certain sector of our societies for those aunts and grannies and uncles and fathers who are facing the wrath of unemployment and poverty. The food parcels might have some, a small influence on them. But young people, they want to work for themselves. They want to go to the retail shops and buy food for themselves. Because remember, young people are not disabled. They are full of energy. So there is so much that they want to do for themselves. But unfortunately, the current economic situation in the country denies people that opportunity.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. And if any smart political party, I think if they're smart enough, they can use this to lure young people to vote for them. But it has to be, it has to be doable. It can't be an empty promise. It can't be something that they use as an election ploy, and then post the elections, they're not able to deliver the jobs and the education opportunities that they had promised. So I think that's where we're going to leave it, and we will be watching the space very, very closely. Andries Sibanyoni, Communications Officer of Defend Our Democracy, thank you indeed for your time on the show this morning.
Thank you. Welcome. You're welcome.